the meat.
Welcome back from the break. This is Mostly Superheroes. I'm your host, Logan, here with PC Mike and the Giggler. That's right, it's time for the meat, the chunk, the sizzle. It's why you came, it's why you're here, it's what you want, and this week is a very special highlight of, you guessed it, the MCU. It does it every week, even when we try to take a break and do something else, the MCU comes back in. Funny thing, we actually got our MCU library totally up to date. I just texted you guys yesterday. If you or a friend or someone you know is trying to get into the MCU, they're like, how do I navigate this? What order do I watch? Can I get some help watching some of these movies? Go to mostlysuperheroes.com/MCU. It is currently, actually, we're already behind.
We're behind.
As we talk right now, but when you hear this, it'll be back up to speed because Loki dropped last night at 3 a.m., the 26th MCU title. It's the third phase. It's the third Phase 4 title this year in 2021. If you remember from Avengers Endgame, Loki picked up the tesseract, but what happened next? This is the show that talks about it. Let's talk about the series premiere, the first of 6 episodes. We're talking about Tom Hiddleston coming back in his very own series, the God of Mischief himself, Loki. Just to kick us off, we're going to do a full roundtable here of what happened, what are the parts we saw. We all three have watched it today. It came out today, June 9th, 2021. At a very high level, what happened to this one? Loki picked up that tesseract. He jumped portals, looked like somewhere just across Earth, is immediately picked up by this group called the Time Variance Authority, time police that are making sure that the multiverse stays intact. None of the time streams have too many nexus points where things can go haywire. And Owen Wilson is one of the agents. He kind of takes Loki under his wing and says, we're going to use you for something.
Wow.
And we're gonna do some hunting together. Just go and get the spoiler alert for this episode right now. They're hunting himself at the end, we find out. So that's kind of the top level. Let's go around the table and just talk about how we felt about this thing before we dive into this episode is packed full of information. I'm just going to say it first. This is my favorite title so far out of Phase 4 this year. Better than WandaVision, better than Falcon Winter Soldier. Loki is my pick, and we're only one episode in.
Calling it. I mean, are we surprised? Like, Kevin Feige already said this is going to have the biggest impact on the MCU. That's pretty clear with, you can just look at what just happened in the first episode. Everything has to do with time. Look at where we're headed. Multiverse of Madness, Quantumania, like.
Big, impactful, big MCU universe, high stakes. Eternals are coming later this year. You obviously loved it, Giggler. What was your experience watching this thing beginning to end?
Like, you know how you called me out for like frantically taking notes from while we were watching Hulk the other day? Like, it was, I can't even read this. Like, I was just like,
just chicken scratch.
I had to like pause it multiple times and just write shit down.
Make sure that you just watch and enjoy it the first time.
Oh, I know. Normally I would, but it's gonna be tough with this new
today.
Wednesday thing where
oh, you're squeezing it in already.
I'm like, yeah, watching it while I'm working, or we're gonna start waking up early to watch it. Basically,
that's the move. I mean, first thing we wake up, we watch this thing,
and then I might come over here to watch it.
We'll put it on again,
with you before we.
Yeah, and that can be your note taking session. PC Mike, how did this go for you? Talking about Loki here.
I said when I got here, I didn't want to like break anything. I could possibly see this being my favorite thing to ever come out of Marvel after one episode.
After one episode?
I mean, it makes Falcon and Winter Soldier look awful to me.
Yeah.
Like, it just blows it out of the water. It's not even close.
I know exactly what you're saying. Like, for me to be even able to say that this was my pick over those two, here's exactly why. What I tell you when we came in, I didn't even need to have, like, my breakdown of notes because I can tell you exactly what happens to this episode. It's what we're going to do while we're sitting here. But WandaVision, Falcon Winter Soldier, I'm, like, having to write down everything. You know, it's like you're trying to pay so much attention. WandaVision especially was like, do these Easter eggs mean anything? Falcon the Winter Soldier had like a character complex, just so many things going on, so many story routes. This one was like
3 sentences.
I know who this Loki is. I know where he came from, and let's just get right into it. This Loki, who was in 2012 Avengers, during the time heist of Avengers Endgame. Spoiler alert for the entire Infinity Saga. If you haven't watched Avengers Endgame, we're in Phase 4 now, so we got to just set the stage. They set this thing up right away. He jumps with his tesseract. He goes to the Time Variance Authority. Magic doesn't work there. He can't use any of his powers. He finds out the tesseract doesn't even work. He's getting questioned by Owen Wilson. He escapes and starts to go around this time variance office, and he's like running around. He gets his hands on the tesseract, and what else does he find?
Infinity Stones.
A desk full of Infinity Stones
Like
that are
multiple versions.
useless.
Multiple versions too, like 2 time stones, 3 power stones.
That secretary guy is
Oh.
hilarious.
So
Oh
funny.
my god, I
What's
love
a
that guy.
What's a fish?
Tacoma FD. Have you guys ever seen that show?
I know what it is.
It's like
It's the
Super Troopers.
Super Trooper guys. Yeah.
two basically, or like, Super
So
Troopers
that's like the assistant.
alternate universe where they're basically just firemen,
That's awesome.
and
That's-
he's in that. So
he's in this. He's like the intern nervous guy. He's like what's a fish? I just want to know what you're gonna do. How are you gonna kill
I'm
me?
gonna murder you. He's like, oh, that doesn't sound good.
He goes we're literally using these Infinity Stones as paperweights.
Paperweights.
I said this in my instant reaction. The first 23 movies are called the Infinity Saga. It's about these 7 stones, and getting them changes everything. They're the most powerful thing in the universe, and he's learning right now that this place is like, huh.
Like they already knew what was gonna happen before they knew it was gonna happen.
They even said the Avengers, what they did. So Loki says, I know what the Avengers were up to. I could smell 2 Tony Stark colognes.
yes,
So he's like, I know that they were time traveling. I'm guessing because I won, they came back to stop me. He makes it about himself. And he goes,
Dude.
and then they said the Avengers, what they did was supposed to happen. You jumping out, that is not. So that was what makes him a variant. This is what creates what we are now known as a nexus point. This is when the main time stream, let's just get to it. What do we learn early about the Time Variance Authority?
I loved the animations they did.
Oh,
Like
that's
old school 70s, like School of Rock. Like here's how it happened.
I felt like
the
it was that.
TVA. It's the TWA branding, like the airline. If you remember the TWA, it's like the same look. I think it's meant to be exactly like the same thing. Old 70s computers. This is the place that is running all of time everywhere.
Wild. That scene with that video reminded me of like Jurassic Park when they're in the
Yep.
that
Yeah.
little ride where it's like just like a little preview of everything.
They're like, we'll help you out. We'll tell you what's going on. What's going on? 3 beings a millennia ago called the Timekeepers stopped a multiverse war where there were all these multiverse timelines. And they said, you know what? We'll put them back together. They get the time stream into one solid time stream. This looks exactly like what we learned. Another breakdown, the ancient one in Endgame. When she's explaining it to Bruce Banner, she shows him the timeline. So you're telling me these 3 space lizards, or time lizards is what Loki calls them, right? The time keepers. These are like the ultimate beings that like control and know about ultimately everything.
But he questions like we would. Oh, so these 3 are in charge of everything? Like, but then at the end, he sees like the Tesseract and the Infinity Stones, and he's like, we're in the most powerful place in the universe, aren't we? And like I think that's what kind of shakes him.
It
And, like,
shakes him, and he starts to learn about his journey. I love this too. This episode, 1, perfect. I'm just going to say it. They did everything that I hoped they would do early. Hey, this Loki is a different version of the character, one that has not died in Infinity War. This is the one from 2012. How are you going to get this character that has had so much character development to be a new character that has to make new choices? Oh, I'll tell you how you do it. Show him his highlight reel of his life. You know, they pull it up on like the screen, and she shows him. He's like, this is what happened after you got caught. Remember that in Thor: The Dark World? And he goes, remember this moment? And the Dark Elves infiltrate Asgard, and one of the big guys, the one with the stone that like got big and powerful, looked like a bull. He let all the prisoners go, and Loki goes up the hallway to the left. And Owen Wilson's like, you know what happened next? Your mom was killed. He's like directly responsible for his mom dying, and the Dark World is like, this can't be real. This isn't what happened. And Owen Wilson's like, no, this is what always happened.
Mhm.
Then he sees what happened in Thor Ragnarok, sees the whole development between him and his brother, and then this was it, man. This is where I had the goosebumps, the Marvel feeling of like, oh my God, this is only episode 1. He's watching future himself, dagger up to left arm, up to Thanos' neck. Thanos has the Infinity Stones, picks up Loki. Spoiler alert for Infinity War. I already said it. Snap. Kills him.
Well,
This is literally.
he didn't do the snap. He snapped his neck.
Right, he snapped his neck. Yeah, that's a good point. This Loki, you got to remember, this Loki that we're watching on screen right now in this show, he was literally just hired by Thanos to take over Earth and then failed because the Avengers beat him. So he's literally going like, oh my God, full circle. This guy, same guy that hired me, he ends up being the one that kills me in however many years.
I didn't even think of that.
What a wake-up call.
Yeah. Wow.
So that combined with what you just said, Mike, it's like, oh, I'm at the ultimate place. Here he says to Owen Wilson too. He says, "Oh, I can't go back, can't I?" And Owen Wilson goes, "No." But I don't know what you guys. I want to hear your theories on this, Giggler. I'm wondering. I want to see this Loki live past these 6 episodes. We talked about hopefully there being a season 2. I think there would be, but I just hope it's never like, oh, then we wipe his memory and we put him back type thing, and it's just like this one story. I hope that doesn't happen.
I think if you think about it, why can't he just go, this Loki end up joining back with our universe, and they just say, oh, this was part of the plan all along.
And maybe
You're back.
and maybe it was. And maybe Owen Wilson
Could be.
knows something. I also wondered, like, did Loki actually escape that room? I felt like he saw exactly what he needed to see to get on board.
They're basically puppet masters, and maybe everything, and they're going to stitch this Loki into the new universe.
Like you guys are saying.
Maybe Thanos doesn't kill Loki in our new timeline.
Well,
storyline.
I don't think so, because we're in something brand new now. He comes back, maybe meets up with future Thor, with Guardians of the Galaxy. But man, they did this in episode 1. There are 5 more to go.
Or could we have a situation like the movie Us, where which Loki's actually out there?
I've never seen Us.
Oh, well, not spoiling that.
No, it's okay. Yeah, no, that's why I said it
But,
for
like,
someone else that might not have seen it.
Which Loki is out there? Is it because at the very end we get 1850s something Oklahoma Loki, right?
Well, we
that we
assume
think.
it's Loki because Owen Wilson says, "I need your help to hunt somebody. It's you."
And then we get those kind of breadcrumbs. Is it who we thought WandaVision's villain was going to be?
I can't believe we're going to say this, but like literally in the first 10 minutes when we meet Owen Wilson, he's in 1500s. It was like 1500.
Yeah.
And they're at this old church or something, and he has a little kid. Who killed our time cops? And he points up at a painting. It's literally a devil.
It's not Mephisto, though.
Oh, he said it. You're the one that said it. I didn't say it.
It's fine. No, I already looked this up because it pissed me off when we saw it. I was like, did they just do that on purpose to like F with us
Right.
because of that? But
Like before,
the
it was like an
director,
angel or
the
something.
director already came out and said, "Who knows if this is true? That's not
I don't
a
trust
Mephisto reference." But then again, right,
I don't know.
right, yeah.
I can't.
I don't trust a thing. I mean, especially after
Paul Bettany.
Paul
ruined-
Bettany, what he pulled. Yeah. So what's going on with this other Loki then? So there's another Loki that's a variant. Who is that?
I don't.
And who caused it? And then I get to thinking like, so
Has this been happening since?
So there's
you're
different.
right. Is it happening because of the snap? Is it happening because of what Captain Steve Rogers did when he returned the stones? My mind just starts going crazy with. But they also said there's been 6 attacks on their time police. Like someone's doing all of them. It sounds like there's like one person. What do you think? Any theories, Giggler, about this other Loki? What's going on? Any thoughts at all? We're just gonna have to wait and see, maybe.
I keep seeing things pointed out that on his like, I can't remember if it was like his birth certificate or some document that you saw on the show today. Like probably, I think it was like his arrest papers or something like that. It says like that he's gender fluid. So
Yeah. Yep. I've seen a
I
lot
know
about this.
from my comic reading that there's other versions of Loki in the comics. So
It could be
I
a
think
totally
he's
different actor, or is it still Tom Hiddleston?
actress.
Actress, right? Because
Yeah.
it's gender fluid.
Yeah, that's where I think they're going.
Um,
Could you think like he's gonna probably just fall in love with this person?
Like,
Like,
oh my
he's
God.
he's pretty narcissistic, obviously, from what you said earlier. Like
oh, jeez,
he's gonna
a love story about Loki and Loki.
Yeah.
I mean that'd be wild.
be hot. I mean, what?
Yeah,
Yeah, it says sex fluid.
Yeah,
Nice.
it's a gender fluid or like something like that. So,
You know what else we learned about Loki?
thanks to Reddit,
His last name.
Laufeyson.
Laufeyson.
Yeah, Laufey's son, because Laufey was his dad from Jotunheim, the ice giant from the first Thor movie. Whereas, like, typically it'd be like Odin's son, because that's where he was raised under Odin at the Asgard. But they're at the Time Variance Authority. They're like, no, we know exactly who you are. They knew everything. I had never heard. They're like, it sounded like a waiting room. They go, Loki Laufeyson?
Did you guys notice the scroll in the waiting room?
No.
They're doing this to F with us probably even more, but
It's
or
working.
it's just a great reference. I mean, there was I didn't catch it at first. I had to see a screenshot on Reddit, but somebody pointed it out that you can see the guy, one of the guys that was in like that waiting room,
Yeah.
like when he was like taking a number or something like that. That there was a guy that was a scroll. You could see his face change from human to green ugly thing, whatever the hell they are.
To the scroll, yeah.
Yeah.
And then there was also the one guy that was in front of Loki when he's like, take a number. Take a number. And that guy's like, my dad works at Goldman Sachs. He'll have all you guys. But then they kill him.
Yeah.
And Owen Wilson says that Loki was like, well, what were you going to do with me at that trial? And he's like, yeah, that's where they kill you. I'm bringing you somewhere else to try something different for you to, again, I know your skill set. I want you to help me hunt you down. That's exactly why he wants him.
A lot of his record, too, that I have pulled up here, it's redacted. Like, it's blacked out. Like, a lot of his stuff on there. So, why would they? If they know everything, why is that? Because it hasn't happened yet?
Yeah.
And they might be changing his future?
This is what we need to know. This is what we're going to find out in these 5 to come. Trying to think of anything else that's coming to the top of the head. I noticed that, whenever he came in, they're like, no robots. That was a weird thing. And they're like, if you go through this thing and you're a robot, we're going to blow you up. And I was like, no robots at all?
That might just be reference to, Vision, maybe. I guess, Ultron, I guess, too.
That's what I figured. But,
just kind of...
Are all robots bad in the MCU?
No, not bad. But, I mean, just, if you don't know it, I don't know.
I mean, we're getting into, AI.
Yeah, we're already getting in time travel, multiverses. Might as well throw robots in there, too.
Yeah.
Scrolls, robots. Who knows what's real?
I was kind of curious why whenever he jumped with the Space Stone, he just jumped to, the other side of the world. It seemed like he didn't... why wouldn't he, go anywhere else?
I don't know.
Why'd he drop to the middle of the desert and then, he gets caught immediately? I did kind of think, but he had also just got rattled around by the Hulk 10 minutes ago.
That's true.
He went to the Gobi Desert in Mongolia, it says.
Yeah, why there?
Well, this is what confuses me. I think, remember how I told you guys I watched that Vote Loki, or read the Vote Loki comics or whatever, where he, long story short, he just tricks the United States into letting him run for president.
Yeah.
And, in the previews, you can see that he has him and some people behind him that are he's all dressed up and he's wearing the a Vote Loki sticker.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, that's a pretty cool connection. Who knows how deep that
right, and that'll probably be one episode.
Yeah, and then I think if I remember correctly, the people behind him were those people. So maybe they'll come back.
Okay, interesting. That's really interesting.
I could be wrong, but or maybe they just look
alike.
But
how about this? We also saw that Loki. He's been around thousands of years. I guess visited Earth before he ever came in when we saw him in Thor, and he's actually DB Cooper.
Yeah.
Oh my God!
I love that callback.
Oh my God! It just
insane.
jumps out. He's like, Heimdall, pull me up. And the Bifrost just grabs him.
And it's crazy how much he did look like the sketch of DB Cooper.
I know.
I felt like that was what happened in the writing room. They're like, you know what I've always thought?
Gotta look like DB Cooper.
And then all the money, it leaves money behind.
And then the money gets found in an Oregon
They're like,
riverbank.
How was it sprinkled all around?
Yeah.
Oh, well, he got pulled by the Bifrost.
Yeah. I love that.
That was pretty good.
What did he say? His brother told him to do it?
They lost a bet. Yeah.
Lost a bet.
Oh, my. Oh,
I wonder what the bet was.
I didn't even catch that.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was like,
why'd you do that or something? He's like, my brother.
I wonder what they bet.
Oh yeah, what was it? What would maybe Thor had to do something similar?
Yeah, who had bigger arms? No wonder he lost.
Yeah. All right. Well, so far so good on this show. Any other thoughts from you guys? Any predictions you want to make? For myself, 5 to go, and it's gonna be one of those shows that's just I did not want it to end. The moment it was over, I was sad, but can't wait to watch it more. Can't wait to talk about it with you more. Giggler, want to go first?
Let's talk about this Nexus thing.
Okay.
Remember that from WandaVision? It was one of the the commercials that she had.
Oh yeah.
She was taking a Nexus
cream
pill or something like that.
Wasn't a Nexus.
Yeah. And remember, Jock and the Nerd was on our podcast and gave us a nice little description of what that means. That
Anthony told us
they can basically Nexus beings can basically
they're the most powerful.
Yeah, they can alter the sacred timeline that they're talking about without help. Obviously, Loki did it because he had the tesseract to do so.
Right, and the Avengers had interfered, so he had this rare opportunity.
So,
but Nexus beings like Wanda, that we know now,
exactly,
the Scarlet Witch, she can do it just from within inside of herself. So, so Nexus is a Nexus being is the all powerful. A Nexus point is just a point of a variant being created, something going off track. Is how I understood a Nexus point.
Yes, I agree. And then at the same time, in that little video, they talked about a multiversal war that happened that basically the timekeepers saved them from. But that's kind of the premise of that Secret War comic book that I talked about a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, all the heroes
And
like having to fight each other, different timelines, different versions. It was chaos.
Obviously I'm biased because that's the longest series that I've read so far, and I loved it. But like, if that makes it to live action, that would be so cool.
Or
Yeah.
like even you could do a flashback to where you get a good sequence, or like a future
Yeah.
war comes into
Yeah.
play.
Yeah, there's plenty of ways they can do it. With, I mean, the original comic version had like Fantastic Four, X-Men, everything in it, but I mean, they can do their own version. It doesn't have to be the exact same. I prefer that anyway. So they'll do a spin on it and kill it probably.
Yeah. PC Mike, what about you? What else are you thinking on this show?
I have no idea where it's going to go. We've done all these theories. WandaVision burned us. Falcon and Winter Soldier, honestly, I didn't care. I hate to say that. But,
Fair. It's fair. I know what you mean. I know exactly what you mean, by the way. It's not, we're not disrespecting any part of the show. It's literally the show overall just felt a lot.
But I think, like we talked about with all the multiverses and all the things coming up, I am not trusting hardly anything that I see right now.
Yeah.
Because it could be all just smoke and mirrors.
Yeah.
He is the trickster.
God, I hate that too. Like what is he being shown? Because he is the trickster. He's always the one that makes someone see a facade, right? Mm-hmm. So is he being tricked?
And are we being tricked with what we're actually seeing?
I mean, yeah, that maybe like they're just those like heads that were behind the judge or whatever.
Yeah, the timekeepers.
Yeah, like that. Like, have these people like met these like, are we going to see them actually? Like one of them looks exactly like Kang the Conqueror. That's supposed to be the next big villain.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, are they good timekeepers?
Right, that's what I mean.
Loki says it, right? He says, so they decide everything. And she says, yes. And he goes, what do you do? And she says, I do what they tell me to do. And he goes, all right, can I talk to them? And she says, no, they're busy.
Yeah. And I'm also excited to see how this affects, like Kevin Feige said, how big does this affect the universe, like moving forward?
Well, we've heard most impactful series for sure to do it so far, but it's only the third one. So like, I feel like, of course this is. I think that like you guys are spot on. It can go anywhere. They have set the stage that this Loki is going to be helping these folks jump around different times, they could be on any planet, any timeline. We could see any versions of any heroes, or dead or alive. But what is the story? Like, who's, like Andy said when we talked last week, or it was a couple days ago, who's the bad guy? And is it going to be someone within the TVA? I feel like there might be like a traitor in the midst, or it's not what we think they were, or
could Loki have like a bigger version of kind of like what Steve Rogers did when he went back in time and lived his own life? He had a different timeline.
Oh my God.
Is Loki going to do something bigger? Like, hey, I've seen my future. I got to get to a different timeline no matter what. Stitch it back together.
This is my favorite type of storytelling. I love time travel. I love thinking about like an older version of Loki that's like already lived through what we're watching now, like showing up and being like, "You're never gonna believe this," But like we see at the end of the episode, just kind of like leading up to the only thing we didn't really talk about at length is this hunt for this other Loki. We're led to believe this person where the time police are looking. What was it, like 1850?
1850s, like Oklahoma, like looking for oil, they said.
And they had like, he just lights up the field and murders these time police. I say he, like, we don't know. There's a hood up, no face.
Yeah. Well, there's another scene. I was dissecting the trailers.
Oh
hard.
Gosh. Okay.
There's a scene where he's like sitting there with a woman, and it looks like it's Black Widow.
It did look like Black
Widow.
I remember.
I think they're misdirecting us, like always.
Well, just like with the B.D. Cooper thing, they got that out of the way immediately. Like him jumping out of a plane, getting pulled up. Oh, that was a flashback.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. There's a lot of other good references. Like, did you catch the nightmare reference?
Yeah, he says he goes, "This is a nightmare." And Owen Wilson goes, "Now that department I would burn down."
Could be. That's the Loki comics I'm reading right now, where nightmare is basically he can. I don't know. He's like,
you're right. He ends up in there.
Basically, what's the Nightmare on Elm Street guy? He's basically just shows up in your
Freddy Krueger,
your nightmares. Yeah. He doesn't have weird knife hands, but he basically shows up in your dreams.
Edward Scissorhands
shows up in your dreams and like causes mass chaos. So
you're so spot on. Like he ends up in the nightmare thing. He ends up in like somebody's head, or that could be like how we get misled with certain characters.
Yeah, but I think the favorite thing that I read about this show overall is that the showrunner is the guy that did Rick and Morty, which makes sense with
Oh
like
my
the time,
God.
like time stuff and everything. And
Oh
like,
my God.
you guys watched Rick and Morty? Yes.
Oh yes.
I have not.
So
Oh,
the,
Mike.
the Citadel of Rick's episode.
So basically, what this means, though, at a high level, if you're not a Rick and Morty fan, Rick and Morty is all about that multiverse life.
Yes.
Infinite universes of infinite copies of everybody you know living every different possibility out there, and they're all accessible.
So
So you're telling me this is one of the guys producing on
yes,
this show?
and even more, this just shows like how insane this Marvel universe is. The Citadel of Rick's episode. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
So that was
Great.
based on a Marvel comic where there was a Citadel of one of the guys from the Fantastic Four, all the different versions of that person in the same spot.
Like
They're
they
in the
had all
same-
got
yeah.
together. Was it like Reed Richards?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
Like Reed
That's who it
Richards
is. Yes,
discovered the
that's it.
multiverse, and then he like is like, okay, I'll get all of me together and create like a fortress where we all.
Yeah, so the Rick and Morty made an episode based on Marvel. Now Marvel is showrunner is basically
This
hired
is.
to
I'm so
create
excited.
another
That's crazy.
story.
Anything could happen. I'll tell you that. If you're a fan of Rick and Morty, they take it to the limit with anything could happen. So I'm excited about it.
I saw a little nugget just now as I was reading like Owen Wilson's character,
Mhm.
Mobius M. Mobius. Is that how you say his name?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wilson and the director examined Good Will Hunting, the film, as a way to create Mobius's mentorship qualities for Loki,
Yeah.
while still pushing him and having some therapeutic elements to it.
Yeah. And what a breakthrough he has in the first episode. He's like he gets him to say the first thing he said to him about what the people he goes after are. He's like, all these people lying to themselves, creating a facade for people to believe. He's like, actually, I was talking about me.
Yeah.
But
It's just hard for me to see him being a bad guy if they watch Good Will Hunting. You know what I mean?
yeah. Goodwill Hunting. I mean, but I did get those vibes. I totally got that vibe of Owen Wilson trying to coach him, and he's
He's
like,
like guiding him where he wants to go.
but how much is Loki doing to trick him? And I mean, at the end of the day, Loki is a murderer, and like this is part that they have to do as writers. You know, this is a family show, really, at the end of the day, or is it? Like, you got to convince us that this guy is a good guy all over again, because he did. They show us all of his hits of him just murdering people, and I was like, damn, yeah, he did kill a lot of people. I mean, he attacked Earth. The attack on New York, man. All right, episode 2 next week. Anything else?
I can't
You got
wait.
anything else in your notes?
No, not at all. Honestly, I mean,
Did you already bring up the
I
points
crossed
from your
everything.
comics? Your comics, you kind of mixed.
yeah, I
in.
mixed them all in, and I mean,
Nice job. That was elegant.
the only other like relevant part was I was interested to see about like the TVA and where they originated. And actually, they were mostly in Thor comics and Fantastic Four. So this will be that. I think that's maybe why a lot of this might not be from the comics kind of going forward. That's fine. I mean, the more they
we never
reference,
bank
it's just
on the comics.
Yeah.
We're just looking at like possibilities. It
yeah,
gives us
and it's
ideas.
just Easter eggs, cool references, callbacks, and all that. But that originated in Thor comic in like the 70s. And basically the first they wrote these like time bike things, which is how they traveled time, which I'm hoping that shows up sometime, because it's just funny, like looking to think about. Like I liked how they just kind of opened up like little portal doors and just appear.
Yeah.
Like that seems more legit, more modern. But
yeah,
whatever.
and it gives you like a sense of understanding of like, okay, these guys can go literally anywhere at any point in any time, but that little doorway, I mean, it's just like the DC time,
Yeah.
like in Legends of Tomorrow.
Oh yeah.
It's like they got the same looking thing. These
Exactly.
these look better though. I think they look a lot
Yeah.
better.
But basically in that original comic that they premiered in, Thor is on Earth and Jane gets murdered, and Thor uses the TVA to basically go back in time and keep her alive, which I'm like, now I need to read further from that, because like that almost seems like it goes against everything that
Yeah,
they just said.
or maybe Loki tries to go back and just save his mom.
So he becomes,
Or at least just
redeems himself. This is his redemption.
yeah.
It could be
Or tries to.
It's a redemption story, maybe trying to be different, right from the get-go. Can't wait to watch it. Can't wait to see the rest of these episodes. We'll be talking about it each and every week here on the show. I mean, my God, I had so much fun. I really did have that special feeling again, like that Marvel feeling of like, I said it when we were talking during Patreon stuff. This is Loki. This is like more of that major character, has a little bit of weight to it, and you can feel it. And I can't wait to see what they do next to this. So, of course, as always, what comes up next if you're watching this? I mean, we're only on episode 1, 5 to go, but we talked about this. I've been scouring the internet for a good Phase 4 calendar. There's a lot of good ones out there, but as all the changes in the last 6 months, year, I just could not find one. that I liked enough, so I made one myself. It's up on the screen now. It shows you every part of Phase 4 from every title that's got a date, that doesn't have a date, but still in the order that I believe it came from. I got this article from Digital Spy. It's featured on our website. It's on that MCU page. This image is already there. But we've already talked about WandaVision, Falcon Winter Soldier. Loki's happening right now. 5 to go. But next up, July 9th, 2021, Black Widow. I mean, we're going to be seeing this thing in theaters.
Mm-hmm.
And then What If is supposed to be coming out this summer. And then Shang-Chi is coming September 3rd. Eternals, November 5th. And then for the rest of this year, we're supposed to have Hawkeye, Ms. Marvel, and then end with Spider-Man No Way Home. And there's a whole slate of stuff in 22 and 23. Go check it out at mostlysuperheroes.com/MCU.
Is Hawkeye a show?
Hawkeye's
Yes.
a TV show.
Is Miss Marvel a show?
Ms. Marvel's a show, yes.
Are they confirmed how many episodes? Because just like looking at dates,
It's
it'd be
crazy.
tight to fit in. I don't know.
I agree. And there aren't any dates. It just says 2021 still. And it's
Well-
like, when are you going to make these 2 series come out?
Or 3 if What If doesn't have a date
And,
either.
and What If,
Yeah. looking at this, kind of trying to fit our DC rewatch stuff in there. I mean, it's overwhelming, but like think about like What If probably. I mean, that's not canon, so we don't need to have full recaps discussions
No.
on those. They'll probably be shorter, so we can fit in a whole.
We can do like the
DC
whole season or
DC.
something as a show.
Yeah,
whole season, or we just talk about if it's a quick 10-minute thing on one episode, and it's like, yeah, it was really great. Go watch it. I totally hear you guys. We are going to figure it out, and actually, we'll talk about that during what's coming up. Go check out that MCU library if you haven't already.